I'm going to go through the entire process of creating a simple model, taking it into Unity, light mapping it, and what I'm going to be doing here is just taking a look at the Unity thing here. I've got a project here, the render test project. I'm going to make sure in Sketchup that I go to Window, Plugins, Playup, Preferences, and check to make sure that's ticked down there. Make sure this one here, all nested meshes merge into top level components and groups, and make sure that this is set to my path here, render tests, backslash assets, and this one here is going to be similar, render tests backslash assets backslash playup models. That doesn't really, I'll just call it playup for now, and I'll set that. Go back here, and that's all good. So I can close that off. And I can delete this guy. Now, if you're using playup, it doesn't really matter what units you use. This should convert it. So it will convert inches to meters, whatever the default unit is, it will convert it to the units in Unity. So I'm just using the meters one here. I'm going to create a very, very simple model here. So this is going to be my basic scene, and I'm going to go, let's see, we'll make it 20 meters long down that way, and we'll make it 6 meters wide, so 20 by 6 like that. I'll zoom in, and then I'm going to do the same just there, and the same just here. And I'm going to pull this up about 0.15, and same on that side, pull it up about 0.15. Okay, now with that, I'm going to make that I'll make it a component, and I'll call it road piece. That's fine for now. Now I'm going to make another model. And so notice that I've made a component already, even though it's very, very basic. This is going to have 8 sides, and I'm just going to make something here and pull this up. I'll pull it up about 1.5 meters, and then I'm going to make a copy, so hit Control to make that, and then scale that in. I'll hold Control as I scale it in, and then make another copy, pull it up. This is how you can do curves without actually doing curves. And scale that bit in there, like that. And then I'm going to pull the whole thing up, probably about 4 meters. And then I'll just do a few little tricky things here. So I'll pull it up again, but this time I'm going to move that top bit to the right. Like that there. And I will then, let's see, how can I do this? I'll pull up. It might be better if I actually just stop there, and I'll just draw something very basic here. So you can kind of get the idea of what I'm going with, but I don't want to spend ages modeling it. So I'm just going to draw a face on here, pull that up, pull that across. And then create this here, so my little light. Done. Okay, so with that done, I will make that a component and call it street light. Obviously it's not very well done, but I can then copy that. So click that and copy it, maybe just to there, have it on these two sides. Lastly over here, I'm going to make another section, and it's going to be the base. I'm going to pull this up, and it'll probably come up to about there. Along the top, I'll pull this up, and that blue bit might actually, yeah, I'll just pull it up like that, that's fine. Okay, so that's good there. And on the front, get a door. Now this door is going to be 3 meters high by 1.2 meters wide. Oops. Okay, 1.2 by 3. 3 is way too big. I'm just going to do it like that. Let's go and put that guy back in components. And I'll just find the guy that I had in here before. That's odd. He's not there. Derek. Okay, so that's a pretty good sized door there. It's not too big. It's not too small. Before I go any further, I'll want to go into here and reverse those spaces so I can see them all. Alright, so what I've got here, and I'll make this a component, building 1. Alright, so now I've got all of this stuff sorted. I can click this, check to see if there's any faces that are wrong facing. No, there's not. I can click on that. Okay, that building only has 14 vertices. This shape here probably has a lot more, 71, and this one here probably has about in between, 16. Okay, so they're all way below that number there. Anyway, if you're even half that number, it's going to take a very long time to light map. So you want to look at keeping your models underneath 1,000 vertices. Anyway, from here, what I'm going to do is texture this. So I've already got some textures. I've got a door here. I've got some ceiling textures. I've got some side panels. I've got some, what's this, concrete steel stuff, I don't know. And I've got a road and another road. And I'm just going to grab a concrete path maybe. If I just look up path. And see if we can find one that is concrete. There's none there. Roads, get roads. No. Look up concrete again. And there's more categories here. We want floors, concrete floors. Not quite what I'm after, but that one will do. No, that one. Okay, and I'll grab that and download it. So these should all go into my downloads folder. Anyway, back into Sketchup, I'm going to double click this building and we'll start with the roof. So I'm going to paint it. Now to do this, I'm going to make a new material. So this plus button here, I'm going to call it roof. I'm going to load a texture from downloads. Should be probably in recent places, downloads. And let's see what we've got. Metal roll up. Okay. And the whole texture is going to take up, I guess, about 1 meter by 1 meter. So every 1 meter it's going to be tiled, which should be plenty. And I'll just paint that on the roof there and paint that on the other roof. And now what I'm going to want to do is actually go into here and right click texture position and play around with this a little bit. I don't want it that way, I want it to go that way. And I can scale it a little bit as well as I do this. So that's how that one's going to go. And then when I paint the other one, if I push the Alt key and click on there, I can just paint it like that, and that'll go on the other side too. So that's pretty simple, that part. Now for this side bit, I'm going to actually draw across there because I'll get another texture. Oops, I'm going to need to go into that to edit it. Draw across there, which means on the other side I'll have to redraw that texture. Redraw that line in here. But I'm just going to do these bottom panels here now. So I will add a new material. I'll call it side wall, and it's going to be like I downloaded it. So let's go back to here and grab this. Metal plates painted, and there they are. Now this one I'm not going to worry too much. 1 meter is fine for now, and I'll paint that. Now that is obviously way too small, so I need to right click on it and go texture, position, and scale it so it matches. And now I can also move it with this one. So I'm going to put the rusty bit at the top there and go like that. So that's that bit done. Hold Alt, select that, and then paint those other sides all the way around. Alright, that's good. Let's get the door done. So we plus door 1, load that, go down and grab the door material, and we'll just leave that for now. As long as it's not too small or too big, it's not really a problem, because we can just resize it here. So we're going to get that to the right size and the right position. And I want to make sure that I might just readjust the bits afterwards. So I've got that there, and yeah, now this is where it's really handy to be able to model from a texture. So what I'm actually going to do is draw where that door frame is, and then pull this bit out, set this bit in a little bit, or actually pull it out just a small bit. Grab this and paint those bits inside there with that. Okay, and now finally I'm going to just grab the bit down the bottom, draw a line on that, and pull this out as well, like that there. Okay, so I've got my door now, and that looks pretty good. Now for the road's pretty straightforward. I'll go into that to edit it. New material, of course. Make sure it's called road. And you can skip through this bit if you figure out what it is that I'm doing. It's pretty straightforward what I'm doing here. So roads, and these will be too big, so I'm going to make it 2 by 2 and click OK and paint that. And now I just want this to be a one-way street, so I'm going to go I might actually need to go back in and get a different road. So let's go back to here and type in road, and we'll just get one of, no, I think I'll keep it with what I've got, and I'll just make sure that it's obvious. Like this road is a little bit thin here, so I might just make this and scale this way using the middle button so it doesn't stretch out other ways. And that means I'm going to need to grab these two, hold shift and click them, and then move them along that axis back to there. That's good. Now if I double click in here, select that, right click, texture, position, I can position this, and this texture is not the highest resolution, so it's going to get a little bit blurry. Position that texture like that there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Double click on these, and I'm just going to paint these with a new material called concrete path. Load up my concrete path. Concrete floors, here it is. And just click OK. I'll want to edit that texture, position, scale it a bit so I don't see those vertical lines, I just see the horizontal ones going down like that, and grab that paint bucket and paint there, and also I want to paint these bits in there. Okay, now I don't need to paint these, they're not important. So those bits, that's pretty much all done there. The last bit to do is this bit here, which I'm just going to put like a steel texture on. So plus pole texture, load that up, go down here, metal painted, there we go. It's not going to be a big deal what I do with this. So I'll just select the whole model. Okay, and just double check it, looks alright. I might have to actually go in and just grab this one and then paint around. No, it looks like it's going to be fine. Like that, that'll do. Okay, so there's my model, very quickly done. If I want to just make it a bit more interesting before I bring it into Unity, what I will do is grab this and times that by 3. So I've got some roads going that way, and I'll just do the same thing going the other way. Plus button, snap it to there and times it by 3. And so I've got that building. Good. Move this one down to here, and this one here to there, and that one on the other side, which I'll rotate around that axis and snap that to there. I zoom in. And lastly, of course, I'll want to move these little guys along, and that'll do. Now I've got two options here. One is I could redesign the whole thing in Unity, or two, I could export this, I could make this as a component and call it level and click create. Now those components are still in there, but what it's going to do when I click this button here, it's going to export the entire level into Unity. Now when I export this, I'm just going to go, that'll do, levels, street width, warehouse, and click save. Now what it's going to do, it's going to go through and do this for every texture in there, and that could take a few minutes depending on how long it takes. So I'll just pause the video while it's doing that. Okay, so that's been generated now, and it's exported to Unity. So if I load up Unity, it should load in my assets. Hopefully it's only just going to load one texture. And it's almost done. And now there's a small checklist of things to go through whenever you import a model into Unity. So let's just go through there. What I've got is, for some reason I put it in mine, so that was a bit dumb. Where would it be? Objects, here we go, level. Okay, so down the bottom here, if I just drag it in, I can see that, oops, you can see that it's actually come in with all the textures on it. Now one of those models is around the wrong way, and so I'm just going to show you the basic checklist to go over whenever you import a model from Unity into here. So you're going to go down to here and click on the actual model, and from top to bottom you're going to make sure that the scale factor is set to 1. Then you're going to tick generate colliders, generate light map UVs, and change normals to calculate, and then click apply. You do that with every model, okay? Because when you import from Sketchup, sometimes if you flip a model around, Sketchup, it looks fine, but in here the light maps come in kind of backwards when you click apply. Everything will get fixed. It might take a minute or two, and then it's done. Okay, so everything's good down there. I forgot to get rid of this little dude. What's he saying? Okay, that's interesting. So I forgot to get rid of him, but he's stuck down there. And now what I can do in Unity is a few things that you won't have seen yet. So what I'm going to do very, very quickly is just create terrain. Now this terrain, I'm just going to set this model here to 0, 0, 0. And then I'm going to set this terrain to -1000 and -1000 on the X and the Z. The reason I'm setting it to that is because the terrain by default is 2 kilometers wide, 2 kilometers deep. I can change that down here, so I can change the terrain width and terrain length, but it doesn't really matter. The other thing I want to do here is bring this model up just a little bit, or actually I want to bring the terrain down just a wee bit. So if I bring it down just below there, that should be fine. Okay, so it's actually just brought it down, so it's underneath the road now. I can see that road. Now, if you hadn't done so already, there's a few things you're going to want to import here. You're going to want to import a package, character controller. You're going to want to import that package, and you'll also want to import from the asset store. There's a standard terrain pack. You can either get it from the asset store, or you can just download, get the default one that's in Unity. It's not that great though. Just let that import. Now this is not what you want to see here, this kind of Z fighting, which means I probably need to bring the y-axis of the terrain down just a little bit more. It's currently not down very far at all. Now this shouldn't take too long to import. Here we go. And don't use the third person controller, it's really, really, really bad. It also shouldn't take this long to load in. Alright, there we go. So standard assets, character controllers, drag a first person controller in, use W, bring it up. Now, you'll also want to add in a directional light, and then just hit play. Should be able to walk around your scene. Okay, so on the floor there's no problem. The reason the textures are doing that is because of the mipmapping, which I can explain how to fix in a minute. It looks pretty ugly. We'll go over here, we'll see our guy. We're actually kind of towering above him, but it's alright because the doors are pretty decent height there. Okay, so this terrain here looks pretty good. You can step up on it. My lights don't look, well, they look pretty bad, but down here you see, you don't see those lines on it, and it looks pretty curved. Okay, so that was only with 8 sides. So you don't need to use circles, and it will save you a lot of time. Okay, so just to fix up that mipmapping before I go on, I'll go into playup, and I'll find those materials, textures, and it looks like roads. If I go to here, I want to change it to advanced and untick generate mipmaps. And that should be all I need to do. If I click play now, after it's done, if I click play, a lot better now. Okay, so those textures just go on forever. If there were loads of really high res textures, then it would be a problem in the game, but this isn't a big deal. I mean, I'm getting 120 or something frames a second here. I should be getting a lot higher, but it's because I'm recording stuff at the moment. Alright, so I hit play, and so that's pretty much that part done. The terrain bit though, I said you wanted to import some other assets, so we're going to go import packages, and we'll just import the standard package here, which is We'll import skyboxes. Now the only one worth importing, because it's going to take a bit of time to import, is the sunny one. Unless you're going for a really creepy look, but all the others are not that great. Turned out to be a longer tutorial than I thought, but that's alright. You can just fast forward, back and forwards through it. I can go back into here. I'll just quickly save this. I can close that. Okay. So I'm just going to untick this, and I'm just going to bring in Sunny 1, and I'll bring in the textures for Sunny 1, and that's all. I'm not going to import the others. Okay, so from here, I want to go to the asset store. And you'll need to have a search for this, and you'll probably need to be logged in. Now, if you can't log in, you can just get assets import package. I think it's just called terrain assets, but these aren't very good. I don't know why this is going a bit crazy for me, so I'm just going to save this in case I lose everything. Save scene. Now I've already got it in my list of things, and it's probably terrain assets. If you look that up on the Unity asset store, terrain assets version 1.04. Hopefully it's already downloaded for me. No, I'll have to download it. It should be relatively quick. This is just a more, there's more details in here. Now, you can use models from the asset store as well and place them in here. As you can see in here, there's lots of different meshes that have come through, but it's basically all in one big mesh at the moment. That's not a big thing to worry about. Okay, so that should be good. And if I go down to it again, I can now import it. It's going to do the whole decompress the package thing. Okay, so basically this just happened. Let's see if we can just bring this across. No, I can't even drag my taskbar across. But roughly I have about 500 applications open, and I'm not sure what just happened. So what I'm going to do is try and fix that up so that I can get back into Unity and actually finish recording it.